Chief.
I'm going to let you control the slides though, Brody, because
Okay.
I figure if I started controlling it, I'd probably end up with it the rest of the meeting. So I'll just let you start.
All right. Can you see the screen, everybody?
Yep.
I can see it. I've got it.
All right.
Well, first off, I just wanted to start, Council and Mayor, and thank you for the opportunity to present the budget today to you for the fire department. So if we move on to the next slide here, really, I just wanted to quickly go over 2020 stats and just show you how fast things are growing here and how fast things are changing in the department. I know that you're well aware of it, but when I looked at our call volume based on just this year, we're already at an 8% increase. So based on that, we're projected to run nearly 1,300 calls this next year. That's based on a 15% increase from last year. Last year, we estimated about a 10% increase and ended up with 15. So I think an 8% is pretty conservative. I would expect it to be a little bit more than that. So that just shows our call data and how it's broken down. I know that we shared this in the manager's report, so you were able to see it. On the next slide, I just wanted to cover things that are just on the horizon and what's coming up. So first off, with the lower transmission rates of COVID, we're able to start to get some of our programs moving again. So with that, we're gearing up for our annual open house, our public education programs in the school beginning next year, getting back into the schools again. We're looking at getting CERT classes started up again. And of course, station tours, inviting some of our young community members into our station again. We've also begun CPR classes, getting those started up. So we're very hopeful that things are going to get back to normal. And as was mentioned before, the guys and the gals here sure love the community and interacting with them. And it's been kind of tough this last year not being able to have that. We've also got the Paramedic Service, of course, coming up, and we'll get into that a little bit later. And then I just wanted to show you on our side, the grant funding applications. We've applied for 2 AFG grants. One of them is for firefighting equipment. It's a $22,000 grant, and that's a 90-10 match. So for us, we would have to realize 10% of that. The other is the AFG grant for the SAFER grant, which you're well aware of. That one right there, if awarded, would be a value over the 3 years of about $2.6 million. And then the Bureau of EMS grant is an annual grant we get. It's a per capita grant, and that usually averages about $4,000 to $5,000, and that's for EMS equipment. So moving on to the next one is really moving into our capital requests. The first one we've got is a ladder truck replacement. As far as cost, this doesn't come at a good time, but it comes at a good time for the growth for the department and the community. For a couple of reasons. Number one, it's 20 years old. It's time for it to be replaced due to age. And also because of the growth, we've kind of outgrown it in our community. It's a 75-foot ladder truck, and we need to replace it with a 100-foot ladder truck, something a little bit bigger. And this is due to the growth that we've had. U.S. Cold Storage has got that new facility, the LDS Temple and the multifamily dwellings that we've got coming in. We need a little bit larger of a ladder truck for those needs. Based on that, we're looking at about a surplus of this one between 25 and 50,000. I think if we went to a third-party seller, there's a national seller that sells these third-party, we could get a little bit more out of that as well. Next item is a brush truck remount. As you know, we have 2 brush trucks. We use this for our wildland program. What we do is we send one out somewhere in the Great Basin area for our wildland program. We keep one here for ourselves to manage any fires that we have in our community. This one right here is a 2009 brush truck. We did a lot of research into this. Instead of replacing the entire truck, which we were looking at close to $250,000 for, we were able to look at the pump and the water tank and some of the tools and thought this would be something we could reuse. So we're looking at this more like a remount, like similar to what we did with the ambulance, where we would buy a new chassis, buy some lighting and some cabinets, and then we would move our pump and our water tank and some of our tools over. which is able to save about between 75 and 100K. So we're thinking we could get this done for about $150,000 versus 250. So that's online. We also look at an estimated surplus of the old chassis of between 10 and 15,000. The next one is an admin truck replacement. This one is a 2013 Ford F-150. We would actually look at maintaining this at the fire department, and for a few reasons. First off is a paramedic response backup vehicle. In our paramedic plan for capital equipment, we have a response vehicle for them. We also have to have a backup one in case for some reason theirs is down, we can still provide the service. So that's probably the main reason for keeping this. We can also use it as a backup to an admin vehicle. We've got 3 admin vehicles, and if one of those are in the shop, we don't have one for one of our admins to move in. The other one is a travel vehicle for training. When we send a few people out to Salt Lake or St. George or wherever the case may be for training. And then a wildland chase vehicle. Most of our wildland deployments are upwards of 14 days. And because we don't have the personnel or the ability to get another crew out there to relieve them, we have to bring them home. So sometimes we can get extended and we can send another crew out, leaving the rigs out there. It's a lot cheaper to move a pickup truck than a water tender or a brush truck. So also, if somebody has an issue that happens within their 14 days that they're deployed and they need to come home to their family, we can send somebody out there to relieve them. So this will have multiple uses once we replace it. So, okay, next one, moving into staffing request. So right here, this is just a current org chart. If you remember last year, we asked for 3 FTE to help solve the problem with covering firefighter leave and denying vacations and the whole bit. What we got right now is the vacancy on the B shift. You can see that highlighted in red. And then on the bottom, we've had 2 recent vacancies from our part-time staff. I think looking at that, we'll show this here in a slide here in just a moment. Being able to fill that B shift position, we should be able to not have to fill those 2 part-time vacancies and be just fine. So moving on to the next one. I know you guys have seen this slide last year when we did the budget retreat. It was something similar to this. What I did was I took a snapshot. This is showing basically showing October 1, 2019 to March 12, 2020. And this was prior to our 2 full-time equivalents that we got last year. What this shows is a 164-day time frame. Everything in yellow shows the days that we had less than the 5-person staffing, which was equivalent to 50 days and about 654 hours that we were short on staffing. So now the next slide shows a fast forward to 1 year. So this is October 1, 2020 to March 13th, 2021. And this is exactly another 164-day time frame. However, this is with our 2 FTEs. So the yellow shows the days that we were less than 5-person staffing. So we still have that problem, and a lot of those days are falling on the B shift, which we'll discuss here in a second. But that was equivalent to 17 days and about 146 hours that we weren't able to staff 5-person staffing. So it's been very helpful. And speaking on behalf of the fire department, we absolutely want to thank you for the 2 FTEs that we got last year to help with the staffing. It's helped a lot. It's improved morale. However, you can see that there's still some issues on the B shift that we're talking about. The items in blue I wanted to show you really quick. The items in blue are where the 2 FTE came in, were able to help. Had we not had those 2 FTE, those were days that we would have been less than 5-person staffing in our department. So that's equivalent to 37 days, and that would have been an increase from last year. So the problem, it shows that the problem would have continued to get worse. One of the things that's important to note with those yellow spots as well for the days that we weren't able to maintain the 5-person staffing, this problem will worsen with the addition of paramedics and more firefighters wanting to use vacation days. So, okay, moving to the next one is the staffing request of this. So this is the 1 FTE to fill the B shift vacancy, which completes the 3 FTE that were requested last year. So using the same numbers that we had last year, we're at 80,000 in wages and benefits. If we leave the part-time vacancies unfilled that I discussed a few slides back, that's about a $30,000 help there. Plus with the retirement of Engineer Mills and the position that we filled there, we've got about an $8,700 annual difference in wage from that there. So we're looking at right around $41,300. I know that I think in the original slide or the slides back when Brody presented, it was closer to 50, and I think we're right in that range. So the one thing that I would like to ask and have this on a future discussion or something that you guys be willing to discuss with us is requesting permission to hire this person this budget year, this fiscal year. We do, working with Steve, we figured it costs about $13,000 in wages and benefits for the remainder of this year. And we're able to absorb that in our current fiscal year budget. So that's something we would be able to absorb in the fire department budget. We wouldn't have to ask for any kind of a budget opening for that.
Chief, just to highlight on that, I was going to tell the council, I had my exit interview with our engineer who just retired. And, you know, the exit interview is a time for me to have a discussion with an employee on their way out and get some honest answers on how they feel about what we do well here and how their experience was as an employee and maybe some things that we can do better. And he mentioned one thing that we could do better is to allow them to take their vacation. It was difficult for him to be able to take vacation time when his family wanted to. And I asked him if he was on the B shift, and he said yes, he's on the B shift. So that one shift is what's still hanging out there, and that does impact their daily lives there. So
yeah, thank you. I also think that if we were able to fill this position now, we're currently in the application process to fill Brad's position. Well, we filled the engineer position. We're filling the full-time position. So we're currently in the application process, and by using this application process and being able to fill this B shift staffing request this fiscal year, we'll be able to save a little bit of time through the process of hiring and interviewing and the whole bit. And it also allows to put the current staffing concerns to rest before we start adding the new paramedic service. So next one's Paramedic Services. We've had a lot of discussion on this. So this is what the organizational chart looks like with the paramedic service. Of course, it's adding 3 per shift. If you notice on the bottom in the yellow, which are the part-time staff, I've kind of shown where there's 4 other positions, part-time positions, that we may be able to eliminate through attrition based upon the addition of the paramedic, the paramedic FTEs coming in. So, and this would be kind of as needed. We would evaluate it once that position was vacated and see if it was something that we were able to continue with. So in talking with Deputy Chief Hamblin and some of the administration staff, we feel pretty confident that we'll be able to, through attrition, not fill some of our other part-time positions because of the additional help we're receiving from the additional staffing. So the next slide is, you've seen this in January, we showed this, and I think we've also shown it in one of the work sessions we had. This is the implementation plan without the SAFER grant. Nothing really has changed on that. Without the SAFER grant, we're looking at anywhere between July of 2022 and December 31st of 2022 to begin the paramedic service. The next slide shows what it looks like with the SAFER grant, and the only difference is beginning closer to the July of 2022 timeframe. Everything else is really the same as far as the implementation goes. The next one is the paramedic costs. This is without the SAFER grant. Once again, the total costs for that include one-time cost, ongoing cost, wages and benefits is the $941,800. Without the SAFER grant, we looked at different models, and I think that with the costs here, there's so many variables that go into it. It's probably a lot better to have Brody and Steve talk about this. This is just showing what the cost would be, and they've figured out ways with how the paramedic tax from the county and everything else work into being able to cover those costs. And the last slide is just basically what it looks like with the SAFER grant over a 3-year period of receiving federal assistance for wages and benefits. So do you have any questions that I can answer before they get into the how to fund this part?
Not about the paramedics.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, we'll
Oh,
talk
but
about.
questions. Can we ask questions in general though? I mean, just quick questions. Are we out of
Sure.
time?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Just quick question. Are you on those CPR classes? Are you going to offer the professional CPR classes, or I know that there was some difficulty with getting those approved.
Right.
Some regulation or something.
Yeah, one of the things that we are in the process of changing from American Heart Association to American Red Cross right now. One of the issues that we had with the CPR classes with American Heart Association was finding a training center that we were able to work with to be able to get the cards and to support us. And a lot of the hospitals kind of shut it down to their own staff because it got pretty big. So we're in the process of moving to American Red Cross. We just taught our first couple of classes, American Red Cross, to the police department.
Nice.
And that just wrapped up. So we're just getting that going. They do have an ACLS and a PALS, and they also have a rescuer version of the American Red Cross that should count. I don't know how that counts for any other licensures, but I do know it works for our EMT and paramedic licensures. So that's what we're looking.
Yeah, I used to have to do the ACLS and stuff, but I'm just looking for a CPR, and I just know the last time I got certified a year and a half ago that you guys were worried about that. So
yeah, I think we've got it solved, and so we're just building that program right now and getting everybody transitioned over. But we should have that full-fledged, ready to go, and offering it out to the public here, hopefully by the end of the year.
Okay, excellent. Thanks. Sorry, more of a personal question there.
No worries. No worries.
Okay. Yeah. Any other questions?
So, Aaron, on the brush truck, that's awesome that we're able to rebuild the chassis. Does that what is the lifespan? Is it essentially like a new? Would it be considered like on the replacement plan?
Good question.
Up to speed with a new vehicle, or
Yeah, I think the way that we replace brush trucks are roughly about every 5 years now. So we'll take one, we'll put one into a backup. So we're really getting about 10 years out of a brush truck. And it's all based upon, of course, cost of ownership. Are we spending more time with it in the shop? How many miles? What's the reliability of it? Because we're sending these guys out in the middle of Utah, in the middle of Nevada, and we want to make sure they have a reliable piece of equipment so they're not stuck in the desert somewhere. And the other thing that goes into it, that part of that decision is what does some of the more expensive parts, the pump and the water tank and some of the tools on there, can it be reused? Has it hit its useful life? Is it something that's going to cost us a lot more to fix it? And this pump is in great shape. We've actually just did some rebuilding of it this last year. And that was one of the things that Engineer Mills had helped us with before he left. So, one thing that I think that our department takes great pride in is our equipment. It's always clean. It's nice and shiny. Some of these things, you look at that ladder truck and you wouldn't be able to look at it and see that it's 20 years old. We take great care of it. And so from the appearance on the outside, it looks great and it looks new. But they definitely had some pretty rough miles on them and are ready for some replacements. But I guess the long answer to your question was we're looking between a 5 and a 10-year replacement on those based upon cost of ownership and the need.
Cool. Thank you.
Aaron, you hit on what I was going to ask. What are we going to do? What are your concerns with maintenance now? Because I know that we've said that we had Mr. Mills and I think there might have been one other person that we said saved us a lot of money on kind of keeping things, be fixing some automotive needs that we had. So where are we looking? What are your concerns?
Well, right now, the concerns are, and I don't know if it's so much a concern, Brad did quite a bit, and Brad was kind of managed our fleet. He oversaw the inspections and the safeties, the emissions. He oversaw the just the regular service requirements and the scheduling of getting them in to the shops. We use different diesel shops. We use for our Pierce equipment, we use Siddons Martin. They're a Pierce dealer out in the Salt Lake area. They do a lot of the pump work and stuff. And so we use other places to do some of the major work, but some of the small work we try to do in-house, just try to save money and keep the costs down. We have several people that are very capable of doing it. The issue that we're starting to run into, and I guess if I had a concern, is that we're starting to get so busy that we don't have the time. We're not finding the time to be able to do that during the downtimes, I guess, around the fire station. They're still there, but it's that window's starting to narrow a little bit.
Thank you.
And then one other clarifying question I just had for Aaron was, so if I understood you right, then the request for the May addition to backfill would be because one individual promoted to the engineer position, you want to hire to backfill that move up as well as.
Yeah, so what we did was we sent out an application process for the engineer position to replace Brad. We went through a testing and interview process, and we did promote that position, but that position ended up promoting from within our department, opening a full-time vacancy in addition to the B shift vacancy. So
perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, great. Any other questions on the fire department?
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Okay, let's move into some parks.
Can you
Krista,
see me? Am I on? Okay, I'm on.
you're on.
The very first thing, you can go to the next slide, Brody. Very next thing we wanted to, talk to you about is how we restructured the budget sheet. We just thought it would be a good idea that you would know when you saw that we had decreased $127,000 out of the equipment budget, that really didn't happen, even though I'm sure you wish that would have happened, but we actually just separated each sport into its own GL, so that this will help us be able to do, our overall cost analysis better and just be able to see what we're spending and doing in each individualized sport instead of a lump sum. With that said, there wasn't a lot of significant changes to ours budget, but we are asking for carpet replacement, which is $33,000. As many of you know that's walked in here, it's getting really thin. And so we're hoping that this year, we pushed it off last year, and so we're hoping this year we get that pushed through. And then it wasn't a lot of money, but I just wanted to let you know what kind of programs that we're hoping to do this next year with the outdoor pickleball courts opening up. We're going to go do leagues. It's been a huge success here in the community center, and we'll keep doing indoor also, but we'll do the outdoor. We're going to partner with the high schools and do some volleyball clinics, an adult volleyball league. And then we haven't done 5Ks for a few years. And so we got a new rec manager, and he's really into 5Ks. And one of the things he wanted to do is bring one with dogs. And you know how much everyone loves the dog parks and wants that. So we thought it'd be kind of fun to do a couple different 5Ks with one of those, including our pets. And then with COVID, you guys noticed we obviously for those few months we couldn't do anything with our programs, but we started virtual activities by doing bingos and competitions and coloring contests, and those were really successful, and we got a lot of feedback that people wanted us to continue to do those, so we'll be continuing those. Park maintenance, you guys have seen this a lot because you've seen the parks 5-year plan. The top 3 come out of that. We'll be redoing the irrigation controller at Fremont Park. We've been, and Robert will be happy to know this because he just sent me over an email actually saying what kind of things we were doing with smart clocks. And that's what we're trying to do in every single park, is get a smart clock controller in there with 2-wire that we can control by our phones, but also has those, rain. If it's been raining, it can shut off. So that's at Fremont Park this year. We're changing out our irrigation filter. We replace those every other, and that's $5,000. And then our Linda Vista and Fremont parking lot treatments. For our capital and our park maintenance, we would like to get an enclosed trailer this year with the mow crew. We take a lot of time having to unload everything and put it away because we don't have a yard to lock everything up. And we do have mow crews that lose things out of the back of the trailer. So we'd like to do an enclosed trailer, a trencher, the attachment for our skid. We actually rent the trench. We've been renting the trencher, and it's actually adding up. So it'd be smart for us to get our own. It is time to replace one of our mowers at the 11,800. And I know the truck's not coming out of park maintenance if we are able to get our park maintenance worker, but I just didn't want to do an extra slide for you. So I put it on this one, but that would be $40,000 for a new vehicle if we were able to get our new hire. Staffing, we are asking for a new employee, and I don't think that this is a surprise to you guys. We've talked a lot about this in the past years, but also just even in January. Not that we're already understaffed, but with that compiles our seasonals. We always are having problems with our seasonals. And like I said, we've talked about this numerous times, but something I'd like to talk to you about is actually how much we've actually paid out with our seasonals the last few years. I sat down with Brody and Chad and Steve when we talked what are some solutions we could come up with. We should be getting 14 seasonals each year, and that's about $140,000 if they work the full 6 months, which is what our goal is, because that alleviates our full-time staff. But what's happening, and like right now, as we're speaking, we have 0 seasonals on staff, and we won't get any until the second week of May, and that's only 3. And we lowered the age requirement so we could get some high school students, and that's what we'll be again doing this year. We'll hopefully get 5 or 6 in June. We've got some applications, but they can't start till June. But with those 14 seasonals, they should, like I said, be getting 140. We should be spending $140,000 on them. Steve got me some numbers, and in 2018, and we spent $48,000. In 2019, we only spent $45,000. And last year was an anomaly because it was COVID, and so we actually had people stay longer than August. Because what we find is they come on in May and June and leave us in August. And so the second week in August, our full-time staff has to take over everything that the seasonals are doing plus their jobs. And so 2020, we actually did spend $93,000. But again, that was because, so when you look at actually what we're spending, our full-time guys are not only doing their full-time jobs, but they're doing all of the seasonal jobs. And I'm going to be honest with you, it's really, really taking a toll on our staff. Chief Byington mentioned like vacation, and that's kind of the same predicament we're in. They know, like in our mow season, like trying to take a vacation is very, very difficult. And when anybody does, they feel really guilty about doing that. And I don't want our staff to have to feel like they can never take any time off. I apologize. It's been a rough week. They're really, really overwhelmed, and I feel like they're burnt out. Noah said something, and he said, I'm worried about them being burnt out if they take overtime. I'm not worrying they're going to be burnt out. I'm worried they're burnt out. I know they're burnt out. I see it in their faces. And we have this gaping hole that we keep kind of trying to put a Band-Aid on, but we need to do something to help them out. And I think this full-time employee will at least alleviate some of that if we're able to get that full-time employee. And we've talked about next year it was on, but it was actually on to get a parks manager. But I've talked with Chad a lot about that. And you can't really manage when you don't have your foundation, because he spends so much time out being a park maintenance worker 1 and 2 that it's really difficult for him to be able to manage. And that's the same thing that would happen with the parks manager. So we really need to get that good foundation with our maintenance workers so that our staff can manage like they need to. And then I just wanted to end that discussion with a full time is that, you know, Chief Atkins right when he said that we're focusing on retaining employees is the way to go. And I think it's really paid off. You can see that it's really paid off with the police department, but I think we also need to make sure that we're focusing on every single department in recruitment and retainment, because we're all seeing that, you know, people are coming and we're training and they're leaving, and we don't want to have to do that. And I wish that it would be okay and we could push this off a little bit longer, but I really, really feel like we cannot push this off anymore, and we're hurting here. So, with that said, the advancement, we're hoping to get one of our full-timers that we have now to move from park maintenance 1 to park maintenance worker 2. And then going on to our park project, you guys have seen this a ton. So I don't know that I need to go over that again, and we're going to go over it again. One thing that I did want to mention is the Jensen Park Pond renovation. We didn't put any money there. Yes, Brody, thank you for being my Vanna. We didn't put any money there because we're hoping in the next year's budget that we're going to be able to get some grants. Cody mentioned some things, but if we can't get those things, we do want to come back to the council because the docks are really important. And Chad put in for a grant that we should be hearing back here in the second week of May for the floating dock, which would take off $10,000 of that. But we also still have the smaller docks, and so it's anywhere from the larger docks, anywhere from 30 to 40,000, and the smaller docks are approximately 5,000 a piece. I'll forward stuff on to Brody so he can put it in the manager's report with pictures of what we're doing down there. It's really time consuming and it's taking a lot of time, but it's actually going to pay off and it's going to be really awesome. But that's all I have. If you guys have any questions for me.
Just one quick question.
Yeah.
I know that this isn't in this current discussion, but just with the increasing demand over at Rock Creek, is there any chance we can reshuffle the priority for finishing off that parking lot, that southeast land that?
Yeah, Brody actually has been emailing Robert and I to come up with different ideas, but we can definitely sit down. We know that there's a problem at Rock Creek. We had already had our budget in and everything before, but we can definitely look at that because there might be some shuffling anyways. We'll have to come back to the council. We do have Fremont Park stuff in there, but we want to kind of get and see what SAA is doing and when they're going to do it. Because if we don't want to, do our parking lot and then tear stuff up. And if that's the case, then we would like to move up some Stoker Park renovations, because we're doing the tennis courts and the restrooms over there. Look, they're not good, and the pavilion. So we would definitely like to, shuffle that around too if we need to. So yeah, we can always, like Brody said a million times, this is a working document. And we can always shift things around and come to you.
That's great.
If that's something you guys want to do, then we definitely can do that.
Well, just as you see different needs, all of a sudden, oh, look, hey, we're now using this park more. We might need to prioritize differently. So yeah, I appreciate
we
it.
definitely are going to use that park more. So.
Okay.
Krista, I also had a question on how many parks still need smart controllers. I think we've done.
I wish Chad was on. He's so big. He wanted to be on, but he's out mowing. He's too busy.
I think it's just Founders. Have we done others besides Founders?
We've done Founders. We don't have Stoker on there. Rock Creek's done. Linda Vista just barely got done. You know what, Jordan, instead of you and I going through this, I will sit down afterward and do it, and then I'll send you an email to all the councils.
That works for me. Thanks, Krista.
Yeah.
I have real quick, what you think about if we were to try and take the edge off of what's going on right now with you feeling so overburdened, how do you feel about volunteerism? Is it more work than, just to be really honest?
Honestly, yes.
No,
we do use volunteers in a lot of different ways. We're already using that. You guys can see that as it comes across. The things that we'll use them for is picking up trash and pulling weeds. That takes a lot of time. And so we'll put them in parks and have them pull weeds and do those kind of things, trying to teach them and make sure, putting them on mowers, because a lot of the volunteers we'll end up getting are obviously younger. And you want to be careful what kind of machinery and stuff that you put with them. It's the mowing and the trimming and you have all those trees. I know they're lovely, but it takes a long time to trim and stuff around them. But we do use a lot of volunteers. We just use them in, the monotonous. But when we don't have those volunteers, those are the things that we cut. We just don't have time to do it. And as we're getting, more trails, more roundabouts, more where all that stuff has to take place, then yeah, it becomes difficult to keep up.
Do you have any big projects that are big projects? If there's something that you think would take a lot of man hours, is there something that we could come together as a community to help with? Is that something that maybe you can just keep us apprised of things like that, where you feel like we could put the word out for youth groups and things like that? But I mean, I know that you work with them all the time. Sometimes people say, well, what, instead of doing this for me, why don't you teach me to do it? And I think, hell, that'll take me 10 times longer than just doing it myself. So
yeah, it does.
Bigger and worse.
Yeah, it does. But we always, when we have like a large project, like when we had to do a bunch of plantings down at Monterey, we called in a bunch, and they are the ones who planted, our plantings and things like that. So we have stuff like that they can come in and help us with. Larger projects like what we're doing at Jensen Pond, we can't put them on equipment. And that's really, that's taken up a lot of our time right now too. So yeah, I'll definitely keep that in mind, and for sure we'll do that.
Okay.
Hey, Krista.
Yeah.
Oh, Jordan, you want to go ahead?
I was just gonna ask. Didn't notice much in the budget for of park, the regional park, where we're looking at doing a sign up first. So that's probably what that is. So now go ahead.
Yeah, the
Seth.
engineering is the 160,000 you guys voted on to.
Right.
Yeah.
So Krista, I noticed one line item was on was like a playground surface refill this year. I'm just I didn't see which park that was. And the reason I was thinking about that was I was over at Chloe's recently. I'll go pretty quickly, and is that the park we're referring to potentially? And also just, what is the outlook for maybe switching or fixing some of all the broken equipment I know it's constantly vandalized, and I know there's just maybe the solution isn't to fix it, but to,
No, it is.
replace.
We're constantly, and it's hard to get the product. We work with who it put it in. With the pour in place, that's definitely on our project list to do, and that's the one we're wanting to do. And Brody, Chad, and I have like beat our heads trying to work with this company, because it's under warranty, and for us, they should want to just come back and get it all done and make it look good, but they just want to come back and patch.
Yeah.
And so,
I know.
And you can see it, you patch it, and then we just barely 2 weeks ago, I said, when are they going to be up here? We need that repatched. And these are the things that we've got broken. We've got to, send in, like we'll put in for the music garden. The music things, they're gone with like in a week.
All the mallets and stuff.
Yeah, the mallets.
Yeah.
But we do have, 2 or 3 things. We just replaced like the spinners and the dragonfly. So we're constantly replacing that. It just takes it forever to get here every single time. So
I watched a kid rip like a giant chunk of flooring out like a sword and was chasing somebody around. I was like, hey, put that back.
Yeah, it's awful. And when we get it done, and within a couple of months, that needs to be. So that's why we definitely put that on our project list, because we want to go in and just rip it out and do it again.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Krista, I want to just throw this out there that, and I know that you work on this, but we have heard the challenges of hiring part-time and seasonal staff for so long. And we seem to band-aid that problem from year to year with converting some of those positions to full-time. I'm just wondering if it wouldn't be prudent to convert more, because I feel your pain and I know that you're working really hard. And I know that we address things that sound like like bigger emergencies, but I think that Cresta, everyone else, I think Cresta underrepresents her pain because they take on so much. And I just want to be your advocate and say, if we need to figure out how to get you more staff that are actually here and not just budget for staff that don't ever show up and doesn't get used, if we can convert some of that to take away that pain, I would be fully supportive and advocate for that.
Thank you.
I just want to say, I mean, I know that, see, like one of our boys, he worked for you this last fall, and and then he worked part of that you guys would put him on the mow crew, even though he was doing other stuff, and he was good with it. But then his hours kept getting cut because of COVID, and because of his bills, he had to look for something else. So, which I felt just so bad about. But at the same time, COVID killed all of us, right? So,
well, he got hired as rec assistant. I mean, as a rec supervisor, and so that did get cut. But that's what we did last year to fill the spaces. We used our site supervisors, our rec assistants, and everything to fill that spot.
Yeah, and he was great with doing the mow crew and stuff. He was like, "Hey, I got hours, yay!"
Yeah.
But hopefully, some of the craziness with COVID will help to even out some of those hours and stuff. I don't know. I just felt bad about that turnover. So anyway, just to let you know, I was aware and it's like, dang COVID.
I thought like we couldn't let our kids apply because there would be a conflict of interest there. Because I do have a son that would love to apply and would run a mower for you, but
we excluded city council from that.
I didn't put in a word with Chris or anything. He had to apply entirely.
No, I would do the same, but
and he's 22 years old, so he's not like under my purview.
I understand that. That wasn't my point. It's just sometimes we could. I know that previous council members said to me as well that they'd maybe put pressure on their own kids to come and be amazing workers because of the need. And I'm not suggesting that we have to go there. I just wanted clarification.
I think what it is more of like your seasonals or rec assistants or things like that's probably not the big deal. It's probably those full-time employees that would probably be more answering to you guys and stuff. That's what I would think.
Right.
And we have, Dave, to answer your question, like I said, Steve and Brody, I and Chad sat down and talked about, how can we kind of keep it so that at least at the beginning of the year and the end of the year, we have stuff and kind of convert some of those possibly even to part-time if we can, but we just have to get people to apply that actually want to stay on more than just until August. And I know that Robert, had the same struggles and issues too. So it's definitely been really, really hard. And we wore a lot of hats for a long time, but it's definitely starting to wear on the team. So I'm done if that's all the questions you have.
Okay.
I do want to make you feel a little bit better. My husband texted me, they hired a girl last night and she quit this morning. So if you ever wonder if you're the only one having issues keeping employees.
Brody and I talk about this all the time. I know that it's not just us. It's everywhere right now. It's not a great environment to be in when we're trying to get these seasonals when, some of the things they're making more money staying at home. And and I don't want to offend anyone, but this generation has a different mental capacity sometimes. And it's hard in the sense of, you work and you do everything you got to do. It's more of like, well, that's no fun. I don't want to actually have to
actually
that,
work.
So.
Good grief. No, my boy was like working like, hey, I need more hours. Somebody give me more hours.
Which is awesome. We love that when that happens, but that doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah.
It's the much younger generation, right?
Yeah, the much younger, not the
Okay,
22-year-old.
Not 22-year-olds, right?
Not like in their 30s. Okay.
Hey, thank goodness, Lisa, he hadn't invested a whole week or 2 weeks of training and just to have her quit. So overnight's the best probably scenario for that.
That's still heartbreaking.
I think it's worth mentioning that we're probably seeing on the vacation thing as well, just like the COVID effect that's taking its toll on like society in general, that like so many people are depressed that they've been locked up, isolated, and separated, that like the opportunity to get out is opening up. And then when their employment doesn't offer them the opportunity, or it causes like undue burdens on your coworkers and leadership and the community, it's like exacerbates the issue. And so, you know, I think we're at a time where it's going to be even worse and even more detrimental when we don't offer and afford that ability for our staff.
Yeah, it's definitely been a tough year with all of it. So with COVID and things. So yeah. Thanks, you guys.
Okay.
Thanks, Krista.
Thanks, Krista. All right, let's move into Public Works.
Hey guys, so first I just want to say, you know, it is refreshing to have such a great city council working together with us and taking your time to understand what the needs of the city is. I know it's got to be probably exhausting going through all of this and doing what you do, so thank you for that. My first slide just shows every year there's a National Public Works Recognition Week, and it's always the third week in May. I know I've never taken the time to mention that, but it does actually happen nationwide throughout different communities. So this is this year's logo for it. So stronger together. So this first slide I want to talk about just staffing, just kind of get that out of the way. Mainly because several of the budgets will reflect the staffing in each of the budgets. I figure it's just easier just to put it in one slide and not feel like we're duplicating. So to begin with, our public works inspector currently is charged 100% out of the streets fund. I think it was just because that was where the availability was in the budget. We are proposing to change that to 20% across the 5 utility funds. The public works inspector really does inspect all of the city utilities, so it does make sense to balance that across all of the utility funds. There's no net change in rates or anything to do that. We are proposing a new engineering tech position, so it would not be an engineer. It would be more like a CAD level or a GIS type level person, someone who can take off the heavy burden that our city engineer is experiencing with a lot of the new developments, and really help us with the mapping. Mapping always tends to become the back burner, the least, I'm not going to say least important, but it's the thing that just kind of falls to the back because of so many high priorities that come up to the forefront. However, mapping's extremely important when it comes to blue staking or when new developments are coming in trying to find lines. If we're off on our blue staking, then we have to cover the cost of a repair, which can get extremely expensive. So yes, mapping's like very, very important to get it done quickly and accurately. So this kind of person, we're looking to help keep up with that. As you know, growth is making it more and more difficult.
Hey, Robert.
Yeah.
Can I elaborate on that just for a second? So in addition to mapping, and I don't know if everybody's aware of this, with GIS, the power in GIS is also through all of the data attached to the mapping. There's full-on database of, you know, it's not just a map of where a pipe is, it's the type of pipe, it's the age of the pipe, it's the records of when it was last inspected. And during this time when we're putting in so much infrastructure into the ground as we grow, if we're not on top of that now, the time will come where we'll have to go back and spend a lot of money inventorying all of that as it as it ages, because all of that stuff that we're putting in the ground, we're eventually going to have to replace at some point. And just staying on top of that is a real value too in that mapping.
Thank you, for sure. We are also proposing a new streets full-time position. Our streets, the mileage of streets are increasing rapidly. I think we've added about 5 miles of streets in the last couple of years, just with new developments. And it's not just 1 mile of street, right, or 5 miles of streets. Actually, double that for curb and gutters and sidewalks, and then increase of street signs, street lights, and that sort of thing that our streets crew maintains. They're getting farther and farther behind. And that definitely becomes a liability if there's a street light out that we can't mobilize too quickly enough and there's an accident, say, or if there's a trip hazard, someone falls, definitely opens up for a greater liability risk. So just trying to keep up with that. Then advancing advancing 1 streets to a maintenance worker 3, and then 2 water workers to maintenance worker 3. And then we are proposing to remove 2 positions, the public works intern and a meter reader. So the nice thing with the meter reader is the need isn't as great anymore because we're starting to convert over to radio reads, and that's definitely expedited our collection. So we are 40% of our system is on meter reads for the culinary water. So that's been a big improvement in time in capturing those reads. So we feel like the meter reader position can be removed. Doing that will help offset some of these costs for like the engineering tech and stuff like that. So, okay. Okay, now I'm going to just get into each of the budgets. At the top left, you see the number 1051. In each one of these, that'll just refer to which budget it is that's in the packet. So if you want to dial in, that's what it's referring to. Okay. Facility maintenance budget, this basically maintains the actual city buildings. The big change that we've added here is just ADA improvements. We want to focus first on City Hall and Community Center because that has the greatest number of public that enter the building. We don't have any specific line items detailed out at what we want to work on, but we're just asking for a number. We put in 8,000, and whatever we can prioritize and get done for that amount, we'd like to do. So some of the things on the list I recall are like, I think there's some ADA ramps for outside. We do want to get like a sidewalk connection, a safe connection between City Hall and the community center. And then the community center also needs, eventually at some point, needs some push button door openers for ADA. I'm pretty sure that'll cost more than the $8,000, so that wouldn't be this year, but maybe down the road. For the past few years, we've put in a request for carpet replacement at City Hall and just do it in phases. We haven't been able to fund that yet. So I'm just listing it here just so that it's on your minds. At some point, we're going to have to really start on just doing sections of carpet replacement through City Hall. If you have any questions as I'm going through, feel free to just stop me too, because there's a lot here.
Quick question, and it's not necessarily about this, but about, you're talking about sidewalk maintenance before on the previous topic. What if I have noticed like a section of sidewalk that's terribly broken up, but I don't live anywhere near it? Can I still put in the fix-it ticket for that?
Absolutely. Please do. Please do.
Okay, I will do.
Thank you.
Yep.
If we can't get to it right away, what we'll do is cone it off or spray paint it until we can get to it. But
okay,
we'll put it on the list, and when we get the other strange thing is concrete is getting rationed out now too. So
Oh, right.
it's getting
Because the
more
price is so
difficult.
bad. Okay, another quick question on that same, and this is kind of maybe I should just talk to you about it offline. I'll talk to you about it offline. Never mind.
Okay. You know how to get over it.
Well, yeah. Thank you.
Okay, this streets budget 1060 is exclusively labor only. There's nothing else in this budget other than just paying for the streets crew labor. So some of this is duplicated from what I already mentioned. So the one new full-time would be a 68,000 impact. The engineering tech, we're looking at spreading across different funds. So 30% of it out of streets, which would be 25K. We do want to create a crew lead position, and that's only a 5K add there. This crew lead, just like we've done with the water previously, the crew lead would allow an individual to give direction to the crew while the street superintendent is not available or in meetings or that sort of thing, and lead the crew in just day-to-day, line them out in day-to-day type activities without them feeling like, hey, you're just like me, why are you telling me what to do? So and then I already mentioned the public works inspector balancing that. Next budget is street lighting. We are putting in there for 100,000 for fixing deficiencies, which this is an overall reduction of 54,000 from last year's request. So this fund is doing really, really well. As far as our deficiencies go, we have 83 left. And we try to get developers to take care of some of them that are along these main roads, say like Bluff Road, where Edgewater maybe put one in on Bluff where they intersect. And there's, I don't know, 2700 South has a few, Gentile had a few down by Stillwater, things like that. So some developments have put it in when they come in. So we've reserved some of them. So there's 34 of them. 49 of them are in areas that are in developed neighborhoods. And these are ones that there's no chance of a new development coming in. So we really want to focus on these 49. I don't think we'll get all 49 out of the 100,000, but we can certainly chip away at it and do a pretty good amount. After the deficiencies are complete, at least the ones in developed neighborhoods, then we'd like to focus on converting these induction lights over to LED. The induction, there's two problems with them. One is they're not even available anymore for replacement. We can't even get them. And two, they really are dark. They don't light up an area very well. And LEDs do a great job with lighting up streets, and they're longer lasting, and there's less power that's required with LEDs, so it'll end up saving us the cost of power over time. So that's kind of our plan.
Aren't those more dark sky friendly as well?
Yeah, as long as they're just downcast, it's just like anything, as long as they're downcast and they're shielded. So
yeah,
no acorns.
Yeah, even acorns can be downcast, but yeah, generally do. They do have some light pollution.
I've seen some actually be spray painted post so that they aren't, anyway, so bright on certain things.
Hey, Robert.
Yeah.
Sorry if I'm speaking out of turn. I was just curious if there's any more information about, remember a few years ago, we talked about maybe changing our standard so that the new lights are dark sky friendly, or even retrofitting some of our existing to be dark sky so that they are down facing.
I thought we did that.
I don't think
So
so.
I don't think it's in the ordinance yet, but it's certainly something we can look at.
Yeah, I think the standard was to have them full cutoff shielded at the top.
Okay.
I thought,
Did
look,
that-
I thought
did
that
that
was
ever
actually
happen?
adopted.
I
I
think
don't
we
think that
stopped
happened.
short of making an official stance, is what I remember. But we were like, we'll support it, but we aren't going to make it mandatory. I think is what we said.
I think all the new ones are just like they were saying, the lantern style, and they're not full cutoff. Even the new ones aren't, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we went to the supplier just to ask him if they were considered that way or not, and he said they are not technically, no. They can be converted either through shielding somehow, physical shielding or painting or whatever, but they're not.
There's an Eagle Scout project for you, right? Go through and paint the tops of all of those globes.
I don't know that I have Eagle Scouts do that.
No.
Just kidding. Sorry if I'm speaking out of turn, but I was just curious because obviously with the development stuff, we talk about the dark sky for Antelope Island and light pollution stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of things we could do. I know Jordan mentioned a great idea that I've read a little bit more about with cell towers on streetlights too, you know, that advance your network for Wi-Fi around the city. It also gives the city more ability to know when the streetlight's out and needs to be changed without just relying on someone else telling us. There's a lot of different things that can be done. It all comes with money.
Would the cell towers on streetlights create a revenue stream to convert all of those to down facing? Maybe.
I don't know that.
Sorry
I
to
don't
put you
know.
on the spot. I'm just talking.
Yeah, I haven't looked into potential for revenue. I don't know that.
Okay, any other discussion on street lighting?
Yeah, there's the map. So that's kind of what we're looking at for the 83 that's out there. So I know when we started on this project, we had, it was over 100. I think it was about 125 or something. So it you know, we're slowly chipping away. It's doing pretty good. I think development's done a lot. We didn't do any last year, other than 2 that were done by developers. And the reason for that is we put the money toward a bucket truck replacement. All right, Class C. So this has no labor in it at all. It is exclusively put to equipment and to maintain roads and projects. So this is what's really been helping to advance the maintenance of our roads. So I can go through each one of these, but you could read them too. So
We're good.
okay.
Everybody should have read them, so we're good.
Yeah, we're putting a little more to surface treatments, the 500K. I think in the past we've done maybe 200K. But, we do want to do a little bit more on crack sealing and the spray down surface treatments to prolong the life of some of these roads. I'd really love to get to the point where I could, I mean, we're already doing a great job on focusing on the really high need roads, which needs to continue, you know, the roads that are in the worst condition. And most cases those are the roads that are either 50 years old, or they're roads that are high traffic volume roads. I'd love to also work on the other end of the spectrum where I could get maybe cul-de-sacs working on some of those at the same time, and then eventually work our way to the middle ground, right? Because at this point, cul-de-sacs will never get touched, ever, because we're always just trying to play catch up. But I think we're not there yet, just because of funding. We just don't have that availability. I'd love to get like a little street crew of 2 people with a piece of equipment with a truck that can spray down, and exclusively that's what they do, is they're hitting all of our cul-de-sacs. And we have over 300 cul-de-sacs, you know, so So it'd be nice to maybe hit some of those at the same time, and then our residents can see that, hey, you know, there's progress actually happening in my neighborhood, not just on 1000 West or 2000 West or whatever.
You mentioned that heavy traffic roads tend to be a problem, and I understand that. One of my concerns is that it's specifically seen an deterioration around roads that access new construction, because they bring in such heavy trucks and things that road probably will never see again once all of it's built out. But I'd like to know if there's something we can do to, obviously I'd like to put it back on the developer, you know, and make sure a full restoration of our roads is taken care of when they're done. But I get a lot of citizen complaints about roads that were in great shape until the neighborhood next to them that needed that for access was developed. And I saw it near my own home as well, that, you know, it just tore up the intersection leading into the new development. And fortunately that was addressed. So I'm just saying that those are concerns that I want to make sure we're on top of.
I've seen an uptick of complaints on that as well, just where they say, why did we let a great road be destroyed by a developer?
Yeah.
And so I don't know if the solution is we need to perform a road inspection once they're done, and or if they need to put down a deposit for roads or something like that. But I have been seeing an increase in complaints and just damage from that.
And if there is a policy that we can adapt or put in our code that says if you're a new development and you have destroyed the connecting point, you have to take care of that as part of the development, because that's really where let's put it where it belongs, you know, not on the rest of the citizens to repair it because we allowed this to happen.
And it seems like your new ordinance, Robert, that you guys brought before Planning Commission a few weeks back is a good first step in that direction, but doesn't maybe fully address what Dave is talking about, is more around the ancillary. I think you're talking more about like the road next to the road that they.
Yep, exactly.
Yep.
That's where I've been getting the complaints.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Seth, you're right. We are putting, and it's going to be in your next council meeting, we're looking at updating our excavation permit, which will tighten the restrictions on making sure that when they excavate a road, they actually complete it timely so that it's not left open for a long period of time. And then it increases the ability to enforce it with fees. So that's one part that we're doing, and that was definitely something that we recognize needs improvement. It was something I think Dave kind of brought up in a council meeting in the past. I thought, we do need to do something with this. The other is new developments. I'm absolutely worried about West Davis Corridor and the construction that they're going to bring on our roads. I think Bluff Road will probably get a beating. I'm hoping not, but
unfortunately
right now,
with that, I'm just saying that the state will probably just laugh at us if we try to get them to pay for any of that, their impact from that. But
true, but very unfortunate.
yeah.
Right now I'm seeing double belly trucks running up and down 2000 West, around the 6-way roundabout, and all of these roads out here. They're heavy trucks. They do beat up the roads. We redid 2000 West in front of City Hall, from the Antelope down to the 6-way roundabout, with that in mind. And we beefed up that road because we knew there would be heavier traffic. Once West Davis Corridor construction happens, we know that Bluff Road is going to get probably closed a lot or used a lot for construction. We didn't want to build Bluff Road up yet. We figured whatever tearing up it does. We do have a project that is on the 5-year plan for new secondary water transmission line from Bluff Pond to this new reservoir site. we figure let's wait until West Davis beats up the road. We'll trench a new water main, and then we can refinish the road after. So we are looking at ways to try to time these projects as far as, you know, what's in our control. But absolutely, I have the same worries, Dave, as what you mentioned is what do we do with keeping the rest of these roads in good shape and making sure contractors don't, put undue stress on them.
Historically, in the past, it's been very slippery to try to pin specific road wear on one contractor. I've seen it in the past where, like even in where I managed a city back east, we actually videoed a road prior to construction, and then we took a tour after construction. And yes, there was some deterioration, but of course the contractor is saying how much of that is due to weather, how much of it is due to snow plows, how much of it is due to just natural wear and tear from traffic. So how much of this is actually from my trucks? And while it's reasonable to assume that, yes, a lot of that damage is due to your heavy trucks, to actually pin a specific amount to that is because of you and your business is really tough. And then they argue that, well, that's why we have roads, right? To handle traffic of all kinds. I mean, that's just part of the deal of having transportation, right? And so the ability to collect, I'll say, it's easy if there's a specific damage done. You know, somebody drops a skid
Bulldozer.
steer. Yeah, they drop a piece of equipment on the road and it damages the road. That's easy. But wear and tear and cracks that appear, you know, they can say, well, it's due to the hot summer, or it was due to the freeze thaw cycle in the spring.
Or it was due to Lisa ordering a lot of things from Amazon, and those trucks come down her road a lot.
Yeah,
So I pay my fair share, I'm sure.
So just be aware, it's a little, it's complicated to pin that on a specific contractor.
Brody, do you know whether the contractor exempt from gas taxes, diesel taxes, because it's a state contract? Because if they're not exempt, then they could also say, well, I'm contributing to Class C roads.
Yeah, unless there was some special legislation, I'm pretty sure they pay the tax for their vehicles. I don't recall seeing anything.
They don't have any exemption
Yeah.
as a contractor, no.
Lisa,
Yeah.
we're grateful for your tax dollars.
You're welcome. I'm
yeah.
going to my
Last year
husband,
moving forward.
community service I'm doing, so.
So one thing in the future I think we do need to look at in relation to this is we can establish truck routes through the city on which roads large trucks can drive on. And we haven't worried about it in the past because we haven't had high traffic volumes. But once we get a freeway through our city, we will get higher traffic volumes. So we could definitely establish what truck routes we want to designate for those large semi trucks and Amazon trucks.
So I hear what you're saying,
Brilliant.
Brody, and I guess just to separate the examples of what I'm talking about, like yesterday I was going down 3000 and came to the roundabout at 700, and right in front of me were two truck and trailers that as they came across through there, they couldn't make the corner. So of course the trailer pops up onto the little center section, and that kind of wear and tear is tearing that apart. And I get that it's impossible to attribute that to one particular developer because it's not even linked. However, if you look at something like just developed Grayson Acres, where there is one point of access and right where that connection meets gets totally destroyed, I think that's easy to say, look, you contributed significantly to this access point because you're the one that brought in all the heavy traffic to this section.
Yeah, and in situations like that, I think you're right. We may have a better handle to use. And so we would just need to make sure we do that up front with the development agreement so that they know going into it.
Well, I remember prior to being on council, a handful of years ago, I was working with Brody, or I brought attention to Brody, the fact that one of the UDOT contractors during the 2000 West expansion by Utah Onions, they parked a water truck in front of my house for like 4 weeks and just leaked water everywhere. And then it softened everything. And that water truck created like 4 or 6 big tire divots in front of there. And there was nothing they could do about it. And to this day, it's just, and 1100 South, which I live off of, is one of the worst streets in the city. So it's kind of like, what do you attribute it to? General wear and tear, the fact that it's a 22-year-old street. It was just almost impossible, it seemed like at the time, to even attribute clear, big dimpling, cracking, separating from the sidewalk.
Yep.
Either that or Brody lied to me.
Yeah, no, they would say, it wouldn't have done that if your street was in better condition before we started.
Yeah.
A lot of them will probably say, well, take me to court too. If it's not agreed upon at the beginning, like Brody said, it is kind of hard to get them to pay without some sort of threat of law, like small claims court or something like that.
Yeah.
I guess just my point of bringing this forward, if there are things that we can do, and clearly there are times we can't, but where we can, we should save the city some money and put that back on the destructive force where possible.
Right.
Thank you. Good comments. All of those were great. Thank you. Let's get into secondary water. So there's a lot on this slide. I don't think I'll read through all of them, but a lot of the cost increases are the cost of water, plus we have additional shares. There's more, cost of power increases. The power it fluctuates though. So some years it doesn't increase, other years it does. So, anyway, so one of the things I want to point out is this truck swap that's on here. So they've mentioned this a few months back, and it's something that our department has been talking about for a lot of years, but I just haven't brought it up because I didn't want to take a lot of administrative time away from me to try to track this out. So, but the idea is we buy trucks on state contract, and a lot of times after about 3 years, we can trade it in and get a new vehicle equal to what the trade is, and our net loss is 0. And we maintain a warranty on the truck and for repairs, so our cost of repairs goes down. And as we started looking at our fleet in public works, it wouldn't really apply too well to a lot of the trucks that are more specialized. If they have flatbed with toolboxes or outfitted with snow plows, those are not really good candidates for truck swaps to get your cost per dollar to make it worth the cost. But the trucks that are the trucks that don't get a lot of don't have specialized equipment on it, and the half-ton pickups are in high demand, seems like, all of the time. So those half-tons, and we just have 2 or 3 of them. There's a couple of them that I'm looking at that's a little newer, and we could probably get that equal trade with, and that's what that replaced truck item is, the truck swap. So I had 2 of them in here. One was the truck I drive, and the other one's city engineer's truck. It's because of those criteria. They aren't really outfitted, specialized. They don't have snow plows on them. They're just a basic standard half-ton pickup. And if this works in public works, there's other departments that could potentially benefit from it too, like the inspectors would probably be a good one, and maybe some admin cars out of City Hall or something. I don't know, but I think I'd like to try it for first time and just see how it works for us. I think it really could be a good thing in the long run. And like I say, my only worry was the administrative part of it, because we've got gas cards and insurance and registrations and all that to have to deal with. But I think, we deal with it anyway with vehicles, so I think we can handle it if it's not, the full fleet. So where we're talking a couple trucks, I think I'd like to give it a try and see how it works for us. If you're agreeable to that, then the traveling screen, let me just mention what that is. This is on our secondary water system over at Jensen Pond. It's a screen that filters the water from solids. So if you get weeds that are floating on the water, or algae that might accumulate, or any solids, before it comes into the pump station, this is the first point where that filters that out. Once it collects on the screen, then the screen will pull the solids up and rotate around, sort of like a conveyor belt. And that's what makes it traveling. It rotates it up, and then it spills the debris onto a platform, and then the operator can just clean off the platform. So, but we've had that. That's the original traveling screen. We're not looking for replacing it with a new one, because the screen's still in good shape. But I know the motor and the chain, where it gets sitting in that water, wet environment, it actually begins to rust and deteriorate. So we're just looking at fixing that. So that's the first level of filtering, our secondary. The second is there's a microfilter at the pump. So there's 2 stages of filtering. This is just the first. Okay.
Yeah, it's not, oh, there we go.
There are some rate increases, and Steve will go over some of those in a later slide, but I put them how they would represent in each of these budgets, just so you know. And then also on secondary water, I've got to bring up this Senate Bill 199 that got passed. It requires all water companies, and yeah, we are a water company, to set up a reserve to convert existing services for secondary water to meters. And that reserve account has to begin in January. So we don't have a reserve account set up or anything like that yet, but it's something that we're going to have to do. It also specifies that we can't increase rates more than 10% in a year. And there's some exceptions of reasons why we could. I would really hate to do that, but I don't know. I'm just letting you know what the bill says in a nutshell. So we do have to submit a metering plan to the state of how we're going to retrofit all services. And it can't be, retrofit can't go any later than December 31st, 2040. So it only gives us like 18 years. There are some grants that they approved that's 50% match. There's a couple of them out there. One was $2 million that was allocated from the legislative budget from Utah Division of Division of Water Resources. There is another one from the United States Bureau of Reclamation. It's a $75,000 max amount, but it's also 50% match. So there's a couple different grants that are available out there that could help out. But the things I need you to think about is considering the meter reserve amount. If you want us to apply for grant funding and just those 2 things. But think about this is that we would need to do about 500 retrofits each year in order to meet that 2040 deadline. And that comes with a price tag of today's dollars of about $750,000
Oh my
in
gosh.
1 year. So it's a big amount. We're talking, it's probably, in today's dollars, it's about $13 million total. That's a lot of money.
That's a great state mandate, unfunded state mandate. So great.
Yeah, and I think their feeble effort to help fund it was that grant, but there's only 2 million, and that's statewide. So
Statewide. Good luck.
you know, we're not the only company out there that needs to do this. So
This kind of thing needs to be part of our communications specialists information, but even just the comparison of this to say this is what's going to cost us in our city with only this many people, and you've given 2 million statewide. I mean, that's just an atrocious, pathetic little attempt at diminishing guilt, I guess, assuage their conscience, but still, sorry, speaking to the choir.
yeah.
One
I'm
of the things,
definitely concerned about it. I just don't know what to do, but I'm definitely going to need your input on this, on what we need to
Well,
do.
even the cost of putting together a plan is a new cost that, you know, we're going to have to go out and hire somebody probably so that it'll be certified by engineers and all of that. Those kind of things frustrate me because they're just new expensive that we've never had and don't have budget for.
I've put plans together I'm willing to do that.
Okay.
In-house. I don't think, and I am a licensed engineer, you know, they probably will want an engineer to stamp it. That's fine. So I have, I'm familiar with putting different plans together. Something like this I could definitely do.
Well,
And that's good, but not all cities have somebody who's a licensed engineer as their public works director. So
you're absolutely
well,
right.
we're lucky. So,
You're absolutely right. It definitely will take time, obviously, you know, and I've got probably about 4 other plans that are due this year.
I'm really glad that we started doing the new builds when we did.
Yeah.
But we have to start this sooner than later because it just gets worse if we don't.
Yeah, I think putting together the reserve is a good idea at a minimum.
Yep.
Most of you won't know this because you haven't been here as long as I have. The secondary water system went in with a personal assessment to each homeowner. That might be something we may want to do if we want to do it sooner than later.
And then with a what?
An assessment that the city puts it in, but you're assessed and you pay for it immediately as a homeowner.
So it's like a one-time bill you receive.
One-time bill, you know, to put a meter on your, Yeah,
but what size is that bill? Because not everybody can, you know, I think we talked at one point that could be like $1,000 bill, and there would be a lot of pushback on people saying, I have this sudden new $1,000 bill.
Yeah.
So
Well,
Renovation is seeing that they average about 1,500. I also talked to Roy Water, and they say that if the number of meters that you do in a project is a small number, then that cost goes up per meter. But if you do a large project, you know, the cost per meter actually goes down. So
it's like buying in bulk.
So Roy Water says they've seen up to about $1,800 a meter.
Wow.
Weber Basin says about $1,500 is what they're seeing per meter. And it's not just the cost of the meter. It's actually, you know, you're finding where the stop and waste valve is, and you're installing the meter box and replacing landscape. It could be under concrete or rock or near mailboxes or utilities, you know, so it may take some time to restore. Well, I think a lot of it's just restoring landscape and excavating.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
So
that in addition to the 1,500?
No,
that's part of it.
no, that's part of it. I think some will be less, right? Corinne, you mentioned this, and I think it was 2019, early 2019,
right,
when we changed the engineering standard to put the dry meter pit in. Basically, there was not a meter,
right.
but we put a jumper pipe in, We have about 300 of those, and that's saved us a lot of money because those will literally only be the cost of the meter. I don't have to hire a contractor. I could have my own crew go out there, remove
Nice.
the little jumper pipe and put in a meter. So it's just cost of the meter. And meters cost, I think it's about a couple hundred, 200, 250 for
Oh.
each. That's the meter in a radio read. So
Not a big deal.
yeah, so much less expensive. So I mean, we've saved ourselves, potential. We have some potential savings there on. It's a small number, 300 compared to 9,000. No, I think there's like 8,400 is the number I got. That's a lot.
So in your budget there, you'll see in the secondary water fund, we had 150,000 in there. That's under an assumption that we would use 75 and we would get a grant for 75. But in the proposed budget that's actually proposed to you today, we took that out. There's a lot of variables still out there. There's a possibility that this is one of the uses we could use with the American Rescue money. I don't know if that's the highest and best use for the city to use it for, but it is. We think it might be eligible. We get guidance from the U.S. Treasury Department. We're expecting that in mid-May to actually know what we can use the money for. So just think about that, and it is something that we do need to do this year, but we just don't have it in the proposal.
Isn't there just a handful of cities who are doing secondary water anyway along Wasatch Front?
Yes.
Most of them are culinary, and so really this bill just penalized those with secondary water.
Yes.
Yeah, and there is precedent, like the mayor said, for situations like this to do an assessment, and there's all kinds of ways you can skin that. The city can do a loan or a bond to pay for all of them up front, but then have it assessed over time. So it's an extra line item on your bill, or
Okay.
something like that, or you can
That's
even,
good.
so it's paid over time instead of all at once. So there's
Right.
different things you can do.
Can we get another 0.6% interest rate?
Maybe.
That would
See-
be as well.
Yeah, we all missed the boat on that one for a park, but okay.
Okay. Anything else on secondary? We can move on. Stormwater. So not a lot of change here. It's just the money's going to capital projects. As Brody mentioned before, there's just not a lot of money in the stormwater fund. So, but we're putting it toward capital projects this year. We did look at the idea of, I think sometime in the future, it'd be nice to get a piece of equipment that'll improve a lot of efficiency with this small crew. This is an example of what I call a mini street sweeper. It can sweep streets, little spill areas. So a lot of times, our environmental division will respond to if there's a spill. And it could be a car accident, it could be an accident, someone spilled something in the road. It could be an intentional discharge, whatever it is. But it would be nice to have just a little guy to go out, piece of equipment to go out and clean that up rather than reschedule the big street sweeper just to go for a small little area. The other advantage of something like this would have a vac hose on it. So one individual maintenance worker could actually go out and clean every individual storm inlet. Right now, they don't really do that because the big Vector truck is so bulky and trying to get in and out for every single inlet and underneath trees and that sort of thing is really difficult. So another advantage on something small like this is it does not require a CDL. So I could actually just put someone who just has Class D license on this. And one individual could go. So it definitely increase efficiency, and it's cheaper than adding more people. Anyway, It is a costly piece of equipment though. We're looking probably around 250,000. But I think to improve efficiency, at some point in the future, I think this is something like this would be a really great way to go. I'm not advocating one brand over another. There may be others out there, but this is just one that I came across. I actually saw it in person and thought this could really benefit the city.
And while equipment does need repair, they don't take sick days. So if you can get double the work out of somebody with a piece of equipment, you're never worried about a piece of equipment taking a day off or, those trivial things.
That's right. Yep. It's just maintaining it, make sure you get new tires or
Yeah.
fixing the little things. So yeah, absolutely. Okay, culinary water. This is similar to secondary, where with more water, there's more fees. So we have looked at what the increase is in fees to the city, not because of growth, but because of the actual costs of water. That would be a 30-cent rate increase for just water cost increase. This is that other truck swap that I mentioned to you. So this would be like Brian's truck. So we did look at, something for future consideration is this customer response management software. This is basically our fix-it request. Right now, it's not easy to pull up reports. And it's not a simple piece of software for our maintenance workers to manage. So sometimes some workers will get fix-it that will come through where another worker standing right next to them does not come up on theirs.
Wow.
So it's not well, I'm just going to say there are better software that's out there in the industry that's being used. I'd really love to move to something like this because it will help me on the management side to understand how productive our workers are being when these fix-its come in. And it will help to, on the workers' end, to be more efficient with. Another thing that the current software does is once a fix-it is completed, it still stays in their list. They can't eliminate that from the list. So they're scrolling through hundreds of these, looking for the next one. So
I know when we were looking at our website, I was one of the ones on the team, and they actually had a lot of add-ins for our website that did things like a lot of this. If we looked at those, just seemed like those would be a little more seamless, more modules.
Yes. So the company who does do our website does offer this new, it's called a C-Click Fix. And it is something that nationwide, most cities use this software.
So this is part of that? Is that what you're saying?
It would be an add-on, right?
Right.
We're not subscribing to it because it'd be an additional cost. It's about $6,000 a year. And I think for efficiency, at some point it'd be worth investing in something like that.
It sounds like you just made it clear that we'd almost save $6,000 worth of people's time a year if they're scrolling through and don't get tickets and don't see things.
Yeah,
I just want to make sure we're not getting a whole bunch.
It.
I just want to make sure we're not getting a whole bunch of disparate pieces of software out there when if the module that we already bought into for our website would be functional, then that would be something I'd like to go towards just so it's already built into, it's supposed to be a little more seamless than getting all these other systems out there.
Yeah,
software packages.
Yeah, and Robert's anxious to get this improved, and I think we all are, because I think it will be a great benefit in our efficiency.
Yeah.
I asked Robert to hold off on this one in the budget because we wanted to coordinate it across all the departments so that we're, the fix-it request system. We don't have 2 or 3 different systems to submit fix-it requests throughout the
Right.
city.
That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, so we want to have it uniform for the customer, no matter what kind of problem they want to send to us.
Brody, let me ask a question then. While we've been discussing this in the last hour, I got a notice from a resident about a bathroom at Legacy Park that has been, there's graffiti on the mirrors. Cresta, you'll love that.
We've already taken care of it, Mayor.
Have you?
They're up there right now. Yep.
So the question is could Cresta use this as a way of, could all departments use this that interface with the public?
Mhm. Yeah, and that's the intent. Yeah, to get a system that everybody's on. And I think it's something that maybe we come back in a mid-year budget opening once we have a full scope of the citywide solution.
There should be a way to when they put in the fix it to say what department, and then it kicks it over to that department.
It does, yeah.
Yep.
And there are, more than public works predominantly uses it for, most of the categories relate to public works, but there are some for parks, there are some for ordinance enforcement. So it does cross.
And that's how it works right now. We do have one system on the website that they submit, and you select what type of problem it is and that sort of thing.
Good.
And then it gets
Been a
filtered
while.
out from there. Yeah.
It's been a while since I've been on there, obviously.
Yeah.
I definitely think it's worth considering something like that to improve our efficiency.
Yep.
All right, on sewer. So this is another efficiency improvement. The number of manholes we have is increasing rapidly. Our staff for the environmental crew is having a hard time keeping up with it. Right now, the Vector truck just goes out in areas to say, okay, do this area because we haven't done it for a while. There's not a great and there's not a great system in place to determine, does this actually need to be cleaned? What condition is it in? We just clean it because
Right.
it hasn't been cleaned for a while, but it may be flowing okay and not terrible condition. So there is an acoustic pipe inspection that's something that is pretty new in the industry, and I've actually seen it. It's this SL rat.
Is this sonar based?
It is completely sonar. It was developed back in North Carolina from a university professor trying to help the city out in finding where the really bad sections are based on blockages. So it sends a sonar down in one manhole. The other manhole is a microphone, and it just picks up the sound acoustics, and it can determine whether there's a blockage in the pipe, in that section of pipe. And within a very short amount of time, we would know exactly where the bad sections are, where the blockages are, and we could really focus on those. So rather than just sending the Vector truck out kind of in random areas, we could focus on the really bad areas where blockages are actually determined. So they have this available as a rental. It's $26,000 for a 6-month period.
Wow. I have to say, I love the acronym. SL
Yeah.
Rapid Sewers.
It is, I should have put what it means. It's a rapid assessment tool.
Still, like sewer rat.
It's a sewer line rapid assessment tool. That's what it stands for. So yeah.
Perfect.
So we looked at this system out at the district for, similar purposes, obviously. And the one thing that we found was kind of a challenge is if you do have a blockage, you end up probably videoing that anyway before you go in, so you know what you're getting to. And because we video anyway, we weren't sure it would help us. But we don't have a video system in the city, do we?
We do, yeah, we do. But we typically video after we clean rather than before, just because We like to see the integrity of the pipe. It's
Smart.
hard to get a camera in there when there's blockage, and because the
Right.
camera gets flooded underwater.
Right.
So, but yeah, we do have the camera.
So you're videoing without doing the diversion then?
No, they do
We
better.
we jet align first and then we video it.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, I've looked at this and I've been intrigued by it. So I think that this is one of those things that probably would be rent before you buy, is a better idea. But probably long term, if it's working, you wouldn't want to keep renting it every year.
So I actually asked them if we could buy, and they will not sell.
Oh, they don't sell this one.
Yeah, this is a service. I'm Googling it, and every single city out there has rental
It's a
costs.
rental only.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, this
They
is a
won't sell it.
service.
And there's only one company in the state that can,
In this state, yeah.
in Utah, Idaho, and Nevada is their
Whoa.
region. And so they basically have exclusive rights over this, which
So is that like they're the only ones allowed to, or somebody else could go into business?
Patents.
no, they have exclusive
It's
rights in
patents
this
and
area.
exclusivity.
I actually called the headquarters just to say, hey, would you just sell me one?
Yeah.
They said normally we could, but in your area we contracted and it's exclusive. We can't.
Okay,
Sorry.
how long are these contracts and or the patent? Is it like a 7-year thing like the FDA or is it? do we
We're
just
all
have-
looking to get into this business, it looks like.
No,
I
it's
don't
one of
know.
those
Just have
where
like
you have
a road trip to North Carolina to
to-
buy
yeah,
one.
and buy
then
one there.
They won't know. That's ready.
Right.
Buy one and haul it back here. Yeah.
Their first pitch was we will just come in and do this for you, and here's the dollars, and the cost per foot was higher than what they're advertising online. And I went after them and saying, now wait a minute, guys, this ain't right. And then they came up with, they said, what we'll do is a subscription. They're calling it a subscription. It's a 6-month and 26,000. You can, and your guys can use it, and how much ever you want to use it, go for it. And it includes the software too, for that 26,000. So I'm like,
How generous.
okay.
Because it would be
so,
useless without.
yeah.
No, I
So
found
that-
it in North Carolina.
That means we could have full control to just go out and slam a bunch of these, get as much as we can done.
Interesting.
And then, I don't know, hopefully you just work more efficient with it. So
Make
I'm
a
interested
calendar.
in it.
So yeah, you can buy the whole unit for 25,000 in North Carolina.
Either that, maybe we should
Yeah.
partner with
think it's
Weber
more.
State to say, hey, can you figure out something like this? Make a new one.
Well, if it's patented, though, you
Yeah, it's
can
patented.
Oh,
have
but there
patent
could be a-
infringement.
There could be a new, we could just give them the idea. They're totally unawares of this out there, right? It's
Doesn't matter. Patents are.
being fake.
I'm not gonna do that. You can, I'm not gonna.
All right. Fine. Build a better mousetrap,
But I definitely do like competition. So, if it's possible, go for it, All right, cool. This is the last utility, and it's just a bunch of garbage. So
No pun intended. No, I think it was intended.
all right, yeah. So there's just increase we have more carts, the trash carts that we have to buy because of growth, and the dump fees at the landfill are increasing. So there's an increase there. The hauler has requested an increase. I guess by contract, he's limited to no more than 1.3. He requested a higher amount, but the 1.3 is what the contract allows. Now, I imagine this might be because he's driving more roads and using more fuel and whatever. I don't know. So $6K in there for that. All right.
Okay. Well, Mayor, is it break time or
It
where
takes
are
us
we?
to our break. Yeah.
Let's go to lunch. Cassie, can you stop the recording and let's meet back here at 25 to 1? Can we do that?
Yep, I'll stop it right now.
Okay, thank you. We'll see you.